The day Earth fell silent, Captain Elena Vasquez crouched behind the ruins of what used to be Central Park's Memorial Fountain, watching the alien patrol ships glide silently overhead. 3 years had passed since the Dominion forces descended from the stars and conquered Earth in less than 72 hours. 3 long years of occupation, of seeing her home world transformed into a prison camp for 8 billion human souls. The Dominion had been efficient in their conquest. They called themselves liberators, claiming they were bringing order to a chaotic species. Their ships blotted out the sun during those first terrible days, their weapons turning entire military installations into glass craters. The world's governments had surrendered rather than watch their cities burn. Elena adjusted her worn tactical vest and checked her modified energy rifle. The weapon was a patchwork of human engineering and salvaged alien technology, held together by determination and desperate innovation. Around her, 5 other resistance fighters waited in the shadows, their faces grim but resolute. "Contact in 30 seconds, whispered Lieutenant Zara Okonkwo, Elena's second-in-command. The young Nigerian pilot had lost her entire squadron during the initial invasion, but she had never lost her fighting spirit. Her dark eyes tracked the approaching Dominion, hover transport through her scope. The aliens thought they had broken humanity's will to fight. They were wrong. Elena's unit crackled with a coded transmission. "Phoenix Base to Sparrow Team. Package is secure. Proceed to Extraction Point Alpha." She smiled grimly. The package was Dr. Marcus Thompson, the brilliant physicist who had been working on classified projects in the deep underground facilities beneath the Rocky Mountains. Projects the aliens knew nothing about. The Dominion patrol consisted of 3 beings from the Kethmari species. They stood 8 feet tall, with chitinous exoskeletons and multiple limbs that moved with unsettling precision. Their plasma rifles could cut through steel like paper, and their armor could deflect anything in humanity's conventional arsenal. But Elena's team wasn't using conventional weapons. "Now," she whispered. 6 modified rifles opened fire simultaneously. The energy bolts weren't the familiar blue of human plasma weapons or the sickly green of alien technology. These beams shimmered with an impossible silver light, phasing in and out of visible spectrum as they struck their targets. The Kethmari patrol didn't even have time to register surprise. Their advanced armor, designed to deflect energy weapons, proved useless against ammunition that existed in quantum superposition. The silvery beams passed through their defenses like they weren't there, then materialized inside their bodies. "Clean sweep," reported Zara, lowering her rifle. "Quantum phase weapons are performing as expected." Elena nodded, but her expression remained tense. "That's the easy part. Wait until the Dominion realizes their armor is useless. They'll adapt fast." The team moved quickly through the ruins of Manhattan, heading toward the hidden entrance to the old subway tunnels. These passages, flooded and abandoned after the invasion, had become the circulatory system of the human resistance. The aliens, with their advanced technology and aerial superiority, had never bothered to fully map the underground maze. 20 minutes later, they descended through a concealed hatch into what had once been Grand Central Station. The vast underground space had been transformed into a bustling command center. Hundreds of resistance fighters worked at salvaged computer terminals, maintained jury-rigged equipment, and planned operations that the Dominion couldn't detect. General Harrison Blake, former commander of the North American Defense Grid, approached Elena's team as they entered. The 60-year-old veteran moved with the purposeful stride of a man who had never accepted defeat. even when his entire world had fallen around him. "How did the field test go?" Blake asked, though Elena's satisfied expression had already given him the answer. "The quantum phase weapons work perfectly," Elena replied. "Alien armor is useless against them. But we need to scale up production fast. 6 rifles won't win us a war." Blake nodded grimly. "That's where Dr. Thompson comes in. Follow me." They descended deeper into the tunnels, past security checkpoints manned by former military personnel from a dozen different nations. The Dominion had shattered the old geopolitical boundaries, but in doing so, they had also eliminated the barriers that had once divided humanity. Russians worked alongside Americans. Chinese engineers collaborated with European scientists, and former enemies had become the closest of allies. The deepest level of the facility housed humanity's greatest secret. Dr. Marcus Thompson looked up from a holographic display showing complex quantum equations. The elderly scientist's hair had gone completely white during the 3 years of occupation, but his eyes still burned with the fierce intelligence that had made him one of Earth's premier theoretical physicists. "Elena, thank goodness you're safe," Thompson said, embracing his former colleague. They had worked together on classified defense projects before the invasion, back when humanity still believed they were alone in the universe. "Show her," Blake ordered quietly. Thompson led them to a massive view screen that dominated one wall of the laboratory. With a gesture, he activated the display, revealing something that made Elena's breath catch in her throat. The screen showed a vast underground cavern, carved from solid rock beneath the Appalachian Mountains. Inside the cavern, hundreds of spacecraft hung suspended from the ceiling like sleeping bats. But these weren't the familiar designs of human engineering or alien technology. These ships seemed to blur at the edges, their hulls shifting between solid matter and something else entirely. "My God," whispered Zara. "How many?" 2,000 ships, Thompson replied with quiet pride, each one equipped with quantum stealth, systems that make them invisible to every form of detection the Dominion possesses. They exist in superposition, neither fully in our reality nor completely outside it. Elena stared at the impossible sight. "How long have you been building these?" "We started the Quantum Stealth Project 8 years ago, long before the invasion," Thompson explained. "It was supposed to be a defense against possible alien threats. We never imagined we'd actually need it." Blake stepped forward, his expression grim but determined. "The Dominion thinks they've conquered a primitive species. They think humanity has accepted defeat. They have no idea what we've been building down here." Thompson activated another display, showing the technical specifications of the quantum stealth system. Each ship can phase shift between dimensions, making them undetectable to conventional sensors. They can appear and disappear at will, strike without warning, and vanish before the enemy can respond. "It's like having a fleet of ghosts," Elena murmured. "Exactly," Blake said. "The Dominion controls the surface, but they've never bothered to thoroughly scan the underground. They think broken humans couldn't pose any real threat. Their arrogance is about to become their weakness." Elena studied the tactical displays, showing Dominion force deployments across Earth and the surrounding star systems. The aliens had 3,000 ships in the Sol system, with their main fleet stationed in high orbit around Earth. Their technology was superior to anything humanity had possessed before the invasion, but they had grown complacent during their 3-year occupation. Thompson pulled up another display showing the quantum communication network that connected resistance cells across the globe. "We've been coordinating with every underground group on the planet. Japanese scientists in the Hokkaido bunkers, European resistance fighters in the Alpine tunnels, African liberation forces in the Saharan deep shelters. Everyone's ready, Alina felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the scope of what they were planning. This isn't just a resistance operation. This is a full-scale revolution. The Dominion made a mistake, Blake said quietly. They thought conquering Earth would break humanity's spirit. Instead, it forged us into something we've never been before, united, determined, and very, very angry. Zara stepped closer to the displays, studying the technical readouts. How do we crew 2,000 ships? We don't have enough pilots. We don't need conventional crews, Thompson explained. The quantum AI systems can operate most ship functions independently. Each vessel only needs a pilot and a tactical officer. We've been training people in secret for 2 years. Elena's mind raced as she absorbed the implications. 2,000 invisible ships, crewed by the most motivated pilots in human history, equipped with weapons that could phase through any defense. The Dominion had no idea what was coming. When do we launch? She asked. Blake checked his chronometer. 72 hours. The anniversary of Earth's surrender. The Dominion is planning a celebration, a demonstration of their continued dominance. Instead, they're going to get the surprise of their existence. Alina nodded, feeling the weight of history settling on her shoulders. She thought about all the humans who had died during the invasion, all those who had suffered under alien occupation, all the children who had grown up never knowing freedom. General, I want to pilot the lead ship, she said firmly. Blake studied her for a moment, then nodded. I was hoping you'd say that. The flagship is yours, Captain. Thompson will brief you on the quantum stealth systems. As Alina followed the scientists deeper into the technical laboratories, she couldn't help but think about the irony of their situation. The Dominion had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species that would submit to superior force. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, human ingenuity driven by absolute determination. The aliens thought they had conquered Earth. They had no idea that Earth was about to fight back with weapons they couldn't even detect. The Shadow Fleet was ready, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they had never learned how to surrender. When ghosts became warriors, Overlord Krickstack stood on the bridge of the Dominion flagship Eternal Conquest, gazing down at the blue-green world that had become the crown jewel of his empire. 3 years of occupation had transformed Earth, from a chaotic collection of squabbling nation-states into a perfectly ordered world under Dominion control. The massive alien commander, standing nearly 10 feet tall with his ceremonial battle armor gleaming under the bridge lights, felt deeply satisfied with his achievement. The humans had learned their place quickly after the initial demonstration of Dominion power. Scattered resistance groups still occasionally caused minor disruptions, but they were no more significant than insects buzzing around a giant. War Master Veltar, report on today's celebration preparations, Krickstack commanded, his voice resonating through the ship's communication system. The tactical officer, a sleek, predatory being from the Sekthari species, approached with fluid grace. All systems operational, Overlord. The anniversary demonstration will showcase our continued superiority over the human population. 300 ships will participate in the orbital parade. Krickstack nodded approvingly. Today marked exactly 3 years since Earth's pathetic governments had surrendered rather than watch their cities burn. The anniversary celebration would remind the humans that resistance was futile and that the Dominion's rule was eternal. Any reports from the surface patrols? He asked. Minor incidents. Only, Velta replied dismissively. A few supply convoys attacked, some communication equipment sabotaged. Nothing that suggests organized resistance. The humans appear to have finally accepted their fate. Far below the Dominion fleet, in the quantum-shielded caverns beneath the Appalachian Mountains, Captain Elena Vasquez stood before 2,000 volunteer pilots. These men and women represented every nation, every culture, every walk of life that humanity had ever known. Former military officers stood beside civilian engineers, teenage hackers, next to elderly professors, all united by their refusal to accept defeat. Today, we remind the galaxy who we are, Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the cavern's communication system. Not the conquered species the Dominion thinks we've become, but the same humans who climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. Dr. Thompson had completed the final calibrations on the quantum stealth systems. Each ship in the Shadow Fleet now existed in a state of controlled quantum superposition, neither fully visible nor completely invisible, occupying a space between dimensions that no Dominion sensor could detect. Lieutenant Zara Okonkwo checked. Her instruments aboard the lead ship, designated Ghost 1, the vessel's hull seemed to shimmer and fade at the edges, like looking at something through disturbed water. All quantum systems green, she reported to Elena. We're ready for launch. Elena settled into the pilot seat of the most advanced spacecraft ever built by human hands. The ship's AI spoke in a calm, synthesized voice that somehow conveyed absolute confidence. Captain Vasquez, all fleet units report ready for phase transition. Awaiting your orders. Fleet Command, this is Ghost Leader. Elena spoke into her communicator. All units, prepare for quantum emergence. Today, we show the Dominion what happens when you underestimate humanity. General Blake's voice came through the com from the underground command center. Ghost Fleet, you are cleared for operation. Give them hell. 2,000 ships simultaneously activated their quantum drives. Reality bent around them as they phased out of normal spacetime, becoming living shadows that existed between dimensions. To any observer, the massive cavern appeared empty, but the Ghost Fleet was rising through solid rock as if it were mist. Above Earth's surface, the Dominion celebration was reaching its peak. 300 alien warships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight as they demonstrated their technological superiority. On the planet below, billions of humans watched the display with carefully hidden rage. Overlord Crickstack stood proudly on his bridge as the anniversary parade proceeded flawlessly. The human population could see their conqueror's power displayed. Across the sky, a reminder that resistance was not only futile but impossible. Overlord, we're detecting some unusual energy readings, reported the sensor operator, a multi-eyed creature whose species had served the Dominion for centuries. Crickstock barely glanced at the display, probably interference from the celebration. Formations, continue monitoring, but the readings weren't interference. They were quantum signatures from 2,000 ships that were beginning to phase back into normal reality. The Ghost Fleet emerged from the space between dimensions like predators, materializing from nightmare. Elena watched her tactical display as the Shadow Fleet took position around the unsuspecting Dominion forces. Each ship appeared exactly where it needed to be, invisible to enemy sensors, undetected by their most advanced technology. All units, this is Ghost Leader. She transmitted on a quantum-encrypted channel that the Dominion couldn't intercept. Target acquisition complete. Weapons free on my mark. The human ships had been equipped with the same quantum phase technology that made their hulls invisible. Their weapons existed in superposition until the moment they fired, allowing them to bypass any defense the aliens could deploy. "Ghost Fleet," Elena said quietly, thinking of every human who had died during the invasion, every child who had grown up under alien rule, every dream that had been crushed by the occupation. Fire. 2,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. Quantum phase weapons materialized inside Dominion hulls, bypassing shields and armor as if they didn't exist. The energy beams struck critical systems, power cores, and command centers with devastating precision. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Dominion ships that had seemed invincible moments before began exploding in brilliant flashes of contained fusion. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, provided no protection against attacks that materialized inside their defensive perimeters. On the flagship's bridge, chaos erupted as alarm systems screamed warnings that made no sense. Ships were being destroyed by weapons that their sensors couldn't detect, fired by attackers that didn't appear on any tactical display. "Report," Krickstack roared, his confident demeanor cracking as he watched his fleet die around him. "Unknown contacts," the sensor operator replied in panic. "Weapons fire from nowhere, Overlord. Our shields are useless." War Master Veltar studied the tactical display with growing horror. "It's impossible. There are no human ships in the system. Our sensors would detect any vessel larger than a shuttle." But the Ghost Fleet wasn't done. Elena's voice cut through the quantum communication network, reaching every human ship in the battle. "Phase 2, all units. Hit their ground installations." Half the Shadow Fleet turned toward Earth's surface, where Dominion control centers and military bases had been established in major cities around the globe. The quantum stealth ships dove through the atmosphere like vengeful spirits, their hulls barely registering on any sensor array. In New York, alien administrators watched in terror as their fortress headquarters simply vanished in a flash of quantum fire. In London, Dominion troops scrambled for cover as invisible attackers struck with surgical precision. Across the planet, the symbols of alien occupation were being systematically destroyed by enemies that couldn't be seen, couldn't be tracked, and couldn't be stopped. Zara's voice came through Elena's comm system with barely contained excitement. "Ghost Leader, Dominion ground forces are in full retreat. They're abandoning their positions and heading for their ships." Elena allowed herself a grim smile as she watched the alien fleet trying desperately to reorganize their formations. "They can run, but they can't hide. All units, pursue and destroy. Don't let any of them escape to report what they've seen." The battle became a hunt. Dominion ships tried to flee the system, but the Ghost Fleet followed them like shadows made manifest. Human pilots who had trained in secret for years unleashed 3 years of suppressed rage and determination, striking again and again with weapons their enemies couldn't defend against. Overlord Krickstack's flagship shuddered under repeated hits from invisible attackers. His bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to find some way to fight back against enemies they couldn't see. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," his communications officer reported. "It's coming from ... everywhere. Every frequency simultaneously. Put it through," Krickstack ordered. Elena's voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect Dominion standard that she had learned during her years of preparing for this moment. "Overlord Krickstack, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran Shadow Fleet. You made a mistake when you thought conquering Earth would break our spirit." Krickstack stared at the view screen. where nothing but empty space was visible despite the weapons fire that continued to pound his ship. "This is impossible. Your species surrendered. Your technology is primitive." "You're right about one thing," Alina replied, her voice carrying a cold satisfaction that made the alien commander's blood run cold. "Our old technology was primitive, but you gave us 3 years to improve it. 3 years to let our anger grow. 3 years to unite every human being on Earth behind a single purpose." Another massive explosion rocked the flagship as quantum weapons found their mark. Krixthak realized with growing horror that his mighty fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he couldn't even see. "What do you want?" he demanded. "What we've always wanted," Alina replied. "Our freedom, our world, our future, and we're taking it back." The Ghost Fleet pressed their attack with ruthless efficiency. Ship after ship of the Dominion fleet was destroyed, their wreckage floating in Earth's orbital space like monuments to alien arrogance. The few vessels that tried to surrender found their communications jammed by quantum interference. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. The mighty Dominion fleet that had conquered Earth in 3 days was completely destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry word of the Shadow Fleet to the rest of their empire. As the last enemy vessel exploded in a brilliant fireball, Alina opened a channel to every human on Earth and throughout the colonies. Her message was broadcast on every frequency, translated into every human language, carried by quantum signals that reached across the solar system. "People of Earth, this is Captain Alina Vasquez of the Terran Shadow Fleet. Today, humanity is free. The occupation is over. The aliens thought they had conquered us, but they only succeeded in teaching us that we are stronger together than we ever were apart." On the surface below, 8 billion humans looked up at the sky where alien ships had patrolled for 3 years. Now, there was only open blue sky and the faint glimmer of strange, barely visible spacecraft that had given them back their world. Alina gazed out at her invisible fleet, at the pilots who had risked everything for a single moment of freedom. They had proven something important today, not just to the Dominion, but to themselves and to the galaxy beyond. Humanity didn't know how to surrender. They only knew how to fight, how to adapt, and how to win against impossible odds. The Dominion had awakened something they couldn't understand and couldn't defeat: the human spirit. Armed with human ingenuity and united by human determination, the Shadow Fleet had struck without mercy, and Earth was free.